Hi, it's Mr. Wake again. In the last lecture, we discussed the three parts of the upper respiratory tract. In this lecture, we will be discussing the parts of the lower respiratory tract that is composed of the trachea, primary, secondary, and tertiary bronchi, and the alveoli. We will be discussing each of these areas in detail as we move through the video. The trachea's function is to aid in the passage of air through the lungs while preventing particles from reaching the lungs' delicate tissues. It does this by cilia, which are very small hairs that create a sweeping or wave-like motion that moves dust and other particles to the pharynx, where it is swallowed. In the trachea, there are thick rings of cricoid cartilage that hold the trachea open, allowing air to pass through without being hindered or stopped. So now I have a question. What does the trachea do? Pause the video if you need more time. Here is the answer. Did you guess it? What about the cricoid cartilage? What does it do? Here's the answer again. Did you guess it again? Remember, if you need to, feel free to rewind the video. Now from the trachea, air travels through the bronchioles. The bronchioles look like two upside-down trees, or two large branches off of a tree. And then the alveoli make up the leaves of these trees. The primary bronchi make up the first branch off of the trachea, or the stump of that tree. As the bronchi branch again, that is called the secondary bronchi. And again, that is called the tertiary bronchi. Bronchioles are the final branches that lead to the alveolar ducts, and then finally the alveoli. Alveoli, or the common name, is called air sacs. The alveoli are one-cell thick sacs that are surrounded by capillaries, which allow oxygen passage into the bloodstream and carbon dioxide passage away from the bloodstream and out of the body. Capillaries are small blood vessels that are also very, very thin. The alveolar walls need to be very thin in order for the passage of air. Now that's all that I have for this lecture. However, I have one last question before we move on. Can you name all of the structures that air travels past as it goes from the nasal cavity to the alveoli? Pause the video if you need more time. Try to name 7 structures. Did you get it? Here are the structures that air travels past. We begin in the nasal cavity. Then we travel past the pharynx, where both food and oxygen travel. Then we move past the larynx, or the voice box, where the vocal cords are housed. And we move into the trachea, where more dust and particles are picked up. From the trachea, we move through the primary bronchi, the secondary bronchi, and the tertiary bronchi. From there, we go from the bronchioles to the alveolar ducts, and then to the alveoli.